Hey, episode 15. We have arrived. Maverick, what's going on over there?
Episode 15, baby. Nothing. I am juiced for this episode. I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I know a lot of people uh, listening out there may not be big into sports, may not be big into fantasy football, but I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time. Talking with you and Reg, two of my best friends, talking a little pigskin, a little fantasy football, and it was a amazing episode catching up with Reg that everybody's going to hear here shortly. And as always, episode 15, Big Red. I know I'm a little empty, but I've had a little Lunazil Blanco tequila, and what did I have? Tonic and a lime, and it was delicious. But now I got about 15 ice cubes left. What do you got, Big Red?
I got an empty cup of nice hard water straight from the well. We had a big old glass of H2O because I'm hitting the hay as soon as we're done here.
I know. I
Um,
still got to go grill a couple hot dogs and eat dinner at 10:20 p.m., but it was worth it. So
yeah, we had a blast.
cheers to episode 15, my friend.
Cheers to episode 15. Appreciate, like you said, everybody joining us. We had a blast talking fantasy football with Reggie. He's always a great guest. Lots of laughs. Um, like you said, this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it's our cup of tea and it's our show. So we get to decide what we talk about. And today we decided we were going to have some fun talking fantasy football with fall in the air, and we're the first week of August finally. Those first few cool mornings have blown in the last couple days where it's in the upper 50s again, and you wake up and you take that deep breath in and you can smell the football in the air. We've made it. Football's right around the corner. So we're talking a little fantasy and have some fun.
Yep, definitely. And heading into one of my top two, if not my number one weekend, is coming back and going up to your parents' place on the lake with the guys, and then ending on Sunday with the live draft that we'll talk about with Reggie and the guys. I think I've been in the league for 12 years now, and getting together live with them. It's always great to get back from the Carolinas and meet live with you guys, and it's a great weekend. So, uh, very blessed to be able to do that and be able to hang out with you guys and be able to hang out, do a little fellowship, do a little guy stuff, and do a little fantasy football, and then get back to it. Be a quick 5 days, but I'm going to try to take a deep breath and enjoy every second I get of those 3 or 4 days I get to hang out with you guys.
Yep, it's always fun. We get up there, hang out with our ragtag group of guys, and then you book it out for the draft um, on Sundays and keep the good vibes going while the rest of us go home and crash for the remainder of the weekend, and then we turn and burn on a Monday. It's always great. We have a blast with it, throw it out there every year. And that time has arrived, is that time of year. It's also it's bittersweet because it also does mean the end of summer, but the
Mm-hmm.
end of summer means fall, and fall means football. So keep the good vibes rolling. We're in a good spot. I love those early fall days where it's still nice and warm, but it cools off, and we're heading right towards that. Get a little pumpkin spice going. Start getting some different flavored beer. Get the Oktoberfest going, some Sam Adams stuff like that. So we're in a good spot. We're uh, we're ready to rumble with some football, and that's what we talked about for about an hour. So everybody's gonna get a little flavor of that here.
Definitely. And just wanted to throw out there too, if there's anybody out there listening that has always been intrigued by uh podcasts or some of the stuff that Mark and I are doing. Just a couple of goofy guys trying to get some stuff off the ground. Don't hesitate to reach out. We're always looking for guests, and we're always looking to get some solid commitments on talking to folks. And you don't necessarily have to be a senior sports writer or a professional golfer or a magicianist, an illusionist, and mentalist. Whatever you got out there, if you got a cool story or your story is your story and it's cool to everybody, reach out to us. We'd love to schedule you, love to get you on, talk to you, have some laughs, do some cool things, do some fun outside the box stuff, and get to know you and get your story out there. And if nothing else, just have a conversation with you for 45 minutes to an hour. So we would appreciate it. And if you're interested, just don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to have you on.
Yep, get in touch. There's ways you can reach out literally via the podcast. So it'll go to to our email there. Most people listening know how to get in touch with Matt and I directly. So if you got one of those, ping us on that. Like you said, we'd love to talk with anybody. We have fun on this. So you're a professional at yourself. That's basically the only prerequisite we have. So if you're able to speak about something related to you, you meet our low bar of qualifications. So let's talk.
Let's do it.
But with that, I think we're ready to hear from Reg. So we'll throw it over to past us about an hour ago when we kick things off with Reg. So
let's do it.
And we are back. We have got the fantasy football extravaganza episode of Don't Spill the Mixie here. We have our fantasy gurus, one of which is a normal host. So this will be an interesting dynamic, but I don't know two people more into fantasy football than the two people I'm currently facing in a webcam. So it'll be an interesting dynamic here to see how things shake out. Fall is in the air. The pumpkin spice is alive. Football is on the horizon. We are ready to rumble. Maverick, how we doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad, Big Red. I've been juiced for this for weeks and weeks. And like I texted both of you, I said, man, I can't wait to talk to two of my best friends, talk a little fantasy football, sip a little tequila, throw some hot dogs, some wieners on the grill later, watch some Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam. It's going to be an amazing night, and I am very blessed to kick it off with both of you. And as always, I want to kick it off with what's in the glass and what's in the cup. And I have a little Lunazil tequila and tonic with a half of lime. So actually, there's a lot of Lunazil in here. So we're gonna get some really hot takes here in a little bit. What do you got? What do you got, Reg?
Well, as I said before, I had bought in 50 of these red solos, so I'm glad to be able to use number 2. I have pulling a Redford tonight. Got a little long drink in here.
Oh,
zero sugar
to Big Red.
Ooh.
Gotta watch those calories. I don't blame you.
We're in bathing suit season.
What do you got, Big Red?
I have got about 24 ounces of sterling clear ice water because I am the oldest man here. It is Monday night, and we are not going to go hard in the paint. I am going to go to bed when we're done here. So, while you guys just party hardy. Veneman's almost on vacation mode too. That's the other thing. He's just
I got one more day.
Cruise control.
I got one more day, and then a weekend of bliss. So cheers, my friends. I believe this is episode 14?
15, baby.
15. Episode 15, the big 15. So cheers, fellas. Looking forward to talking a little ball and catching up.
Cheers.
Ooh, that
all right,
tequila
episode
smooth.
Carmelo Anthony. Let's roll, baby. So we'll start it off here just as like a little context clues here for all of our listeners. Matt was gracious enough to put together a dynamite list of questions for me as a quote-unquote fantasy outsider to be interested in hearing from the two diehards. Let's first, we're going off script here. How many mock drafts would both of you say that you do for fantasy football? Let's start with Reg. How many mock drafts do you do in a given calendar year?
How many have you done today, or how many have you done in the last hour? Let's start with how many you've done in the last hour.
Well, I was joking. I was waiting for Redford. I'm like, gosh, it's 8:15. Why isn't he sending me something? I'm like, I should mock.
He did. He's like, he sent me a text. He's like, while we're waiting for this link, he sent me a text like an hour before, and he's like, where's the link? And I'm like, bro, I was like, we're not starting until about 8:30. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna mock. And then he's like, so what are your thoughts on Bo Nix? Legit, what are your thoughts on Bo Nix?
Mark, I would say that me and Matt together do probably around 40. And I would say I probably do about 100 to 150.
That's no joke.
I'm not trying. Yeah, this is not impressive. So I'm not trying to impress people.
This is the exact dynamic that I like when I watch. Both of you have to have seen The League, right? The TV show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, this is like you guys are literally like carbon copies of characters from that show. Like it's just living, breathing, dying everything is just geared towards fantasy football. That is specifically Reggie. I know, Matt, you can kind of funnel in volleyball with that somewhere too. But Reggie specifically, everything outside of work, your wife, and your kids is like, okay,
And
how
Cindy
does this
Crawford.
spin
And
into-
Cindy Crawford. Don't forget Cindy Crawford.
Yeah.
Oh,
can't
do
leave her
about
out.
10 episodes ago.
But how do we wind this back into fantasy football? And that's basically where your life is more or less geared towards. So, we'll start there. First one that Matt had on the books here for us, and we'll kind of weave as we go. This one's kind of an interesting one for me. What is the difference in your strategy between a keeper league versus a complete redraft league? We'll start with Matt on this one. As a strategy, what is your overall go-to there?
Yeah, it really, and being in so many different leagues, and Reg and I bounce this stuff off each other probably on a daily basis more than we should, is obviously you want to get your best bang for your buck. So you want the best player at the latest round value for what you're going to keep. But then, depending on where you finished in the league, like in one league, I actually was able to win last year. So it's like, okay, I'm picking last in that. So do I keep Amon-Ra St. Brown with a 12th overall pick and Chase Brown in the 8th round versus a couple other different options? Because Amon at the back of the first round is a huge value, even though it's still a first round pick. So you're always looking at weighing your options of value in late rounds and what you're getting. So let's say you have David Njoku and he's a 7th round keeper. Well, he's probably being drafted in the 7th round right now, so there's really no value. You're keeping him at value at that point. Versus Chase Brown, who's probably end of the 3rd, 4th round, and I get to keep him because I drafted him in the 8th round. That's a 4-round differential. So there's always a bunch of give-get. And again, it depends on where you finished in the league too. If I would have finished first, obviously I'm not going to keep Amon-Ra St. Brown because I probably could get Jamar Chase with that 1-1 overall pick. So you're always weighing the value and the give-get and basically which round you're going to be keeping those guys. What are your thoughts, Reg?
Yeah, so obviously with keeper draft, Mark and Matt, I honestly don't do too much differently. Some of the things that might be tiebreakers are age, but I think it's a tricky game. Like we have a friend named Schwa, and every time he drafts, he's drafting like it's dynasty, right? I'm going to draft Ashton Genty. He's going to be my keeper for 10 years, but honestly,
he drafts to trade. That's what
he drafts to trade. But
and we love Schwa, but he loves to trade. That's his only thing. But yeah, we love Schwa. But you're right.
And so that probably gives you that's probably the number one reason why you do a keeper league is it adds complexity and meaning that you can trade. But I still probably like to draft the same way. Maybe tiebreakers go to age, Mark. But you play to win, right? I mean, so I don't vary it up that much differently between the two.
So I would say most people just do a standard redraft league. I would say the vast minority, the vast majority of people, probably 90+%, are in just standard redraft leagues every year. I think most people at this point probably play PPR. In PPR, so assuming those two things, assuming it's a redraft, assuming PPR, what are your first and second round targets generally for that type of a league and that type of a scenario, regardless of draft position? What type of player are you targeting, and where do you put the most value? We'll start with
Mark.
Reg.
Yeah, Mark, it's going to really depend. A lot of times I'm going to ask, do you start 2 wide receivers or you start 3? And is there a flex, right? Because if there's 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, I'm probably going to at least get 1 wide receiver out of those first 2 picks. And I might actually go wide receiver. But if we're playing non-PPR or we're playing just 2 wide receivers, then you're not starting as many. So I probably will go what we like to call high T. A little bit more running back forward, but instead of looking at if it's PPR or not PPR, I'm probably going to look at how many starting spots there are, and that's going to dictate how many I have to fill, right? What would you think, Matt?
Yeah, I am, you know me. I am I have always been anti-running back. So unless it's a year where CMC, Christian McCaffrey, is at the top of the draft and you're drafting top 3, top 5, Christian McCaffrey obviously has got to be a pick there because he is a running back and a wide receiver too.
Mhm.
Because he's also catching 40, 50 balls, bringing in 400, 500 yards receiving and a couple touchdowns. So you got to play it as you're also getting a running back 1 and a wide receiver 2 at the same time. But I would always like the Jamar Chases, Justin Jeffersons, Amon-Ra St. Browns, CD Lambs, like AJ Browns, like those players get so many. And I've also started this year, I've started really looking at targets. I think targets are an undervalued stat when it comes to PPR because the only time you're going to get a point per reception is if you're getting that target. So if you're a player that's loaded up on targets and you're the stud and you're the top dog on the team, odds are you're going to be getting a lot of those receptions, obviously, and the TDs are also a sticky stat, right? So you can have Cortland Sutton one year catch 12 touchdowns and then the next year catch 4. So you can't really go based on touchdowns. It's got to be. I've that's why I started looking at targets. But I would go normally in that scenario, like Reggie said, it would either be high T running back, or I would my MO is to go wide receiver, just because by the time you get that second round coming back to you, the wide receivers that catch passes are gone. So you're not
Yeah,
gonna have an option.
I think you draft wide receivers to make the playoffs, but if you guess your running backs right, you're probably going to win it, Mark. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like running backs get hurt a lot. So if you happen to draft the 2 or 3 running backs that stay throughout the year and get the touchdowns, they're going to be your biggest drivers. However, if you look at the last place teams, they're also probably the same teams that did the same thing and just guessed wrong. Where wide receivers, they don't typically get hurt as much. So last year was a little bit of an anomaly, but it's a little bit more of a safer approach.
Yeah, definitely safer approach to go that way. And I would agree with you. The one year I almost won your league, which is what I've always set out to, because it's the toughest league I've ever been
Tough
in,
league.
is I drafted Todd Gurley, LeGarrette Blount. I drafted like 3 or 4 straight running backs to start. And I was like, I'm going to load up on running backs. And I ended up having to trade Todd Gurley to Streeter to get a couple wide receivers to try to compete. And I ended up losing to him in the finals because Todd Gurley scored like 60 points.
Yeah, that's a
But
good call out.
that's the way I had to compete. And I obviously that's coming from a guy that can't stand running backs in fantasy football. But that was the year I almost won Reggie's league, as I loaded up on him in like 5 straight rounds.
Yeah, I would as a like very average regular fantasy football guy. My thought is always I kind of have 2 things. One, like PPR generally is always going to elevate wide receivers, obviously, because they have more points available than a running back generally does from that standpoint. The other thing, too, that I always try to balance that out with, though, is that, like you said, running backs are always getting banged up. And so it's a total crapshoot as to who's actually going to last for the entire year and who's going to end up getting banged up. But if you can get more value at the top of the running back pile, you have more odds in your favor of being able to survive the injury situation.
Yeah,
So
and Mark, we joked about mock drafting, and honestly, the biggest thing you learn from mock drafting, it isn't what players to pick, it's where positions thin out, right? Because
Value.
yeah, because you won't necessarily know who, you might come up and be like, I want to draft Drew Stan. Obviously not Drew Stan, but Mark might come and just draft above it. So I don't actually focus on the players so much as I know, like in round 2 and 1, if I draft running backs around 1 and 2, there's actually good receivers around 3, 4, and 5, like as a mass volume. So I got to know like where the herd thins out and where it's still thick. And it's really all you gain from mock drafting is that.
yeah, I would say the other thing I target, and so I play in 2 leagues. One's a standard redraft league, and the other one's an auction league. And in my auction league, I take it a lot more seriously as to who I'm going after, because I obviously have a say in who I'm going after, and I make those individual decisions as to where I stop and start my bids and everything. So for my auction league, I've told Matt this before, but I always I'll go through the fantasy depth chart list that various sites put together or whatever. A lot of times I'll use the athletics one. And I'll generally draw a squiggly line for each position. And in my mind, what that is my best estimate in what I call and I might have a couple different tiers in that, but I consider those gaps.
Tier
And
breaks.
how many guys can I get above
Sure.
the gap, and how many of those guys can I stack where those are legitimate multiple point difference makers between them and the next guy. And there's that gap that exists for running backs, there's that gap that exists for tight ends, and there's that gap that exists for wide receivers. And I don't think it exists nearly as much as it does in quarterbacks. Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I would agree. I think if you took away Josh Allen and Lamar, your quarterbacks 3 through 15 are probably not that different, right? They're going to generate some form of points. And your tier-based drafting is a smart way to go about it. So where the herd thins out, where am I still good at? Also, if you drafted the same people, you start catching on to their tendencies too, right? I mean, me and Matt draft together. We could probably guess which players. If you looked at a blind sheet, we could probably tell each other who they have. Right.
But that's also why we only mock draft with each other, because we've also involved other folks in our mock drafts at some point, and they know what our tendencies are. And most of the time, Reg and I have enough respect for each other where it's all right, we've done this enough, and it's you have your guys, and they're not Matt guys. So I'm not going to touch your guys, you're not going to touch mine. So we basically, that's the kind of way we play it as well when you're doing that mock draft.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron, and I think we have a little bit too much pride to take. I would rather lose with a Reggie guy than win with a Matt guy.
Exactly.
See, that's where it's tough in my redraft league, because after probably the second round, it's 95% chalk of what's listed in. So we use Sleeper as our draft service or whatever, our draft or our fantasy league host, I guess, our host site. And from then on, anybody that's even semi-casual with it isn't gonna know most of the guys on a year-to-year basis. Obviously you get a decent chunk of names that you're somewhat familiar with, but at that point it's kind of a total crapshoot, and it's so chalk from then on. So the actual league itself is determined. That's why I like the auction league better. It's because it's very much not chalk, and guys get very off script of what they sat down intending to do in the auction, versus the redraft league. It's you're gonna guys 75 through 150 end up going almost in sequential order, plus or minus whatever that individual team's need is. So it's just draft position and luck of the draw with that, in my opinion, plays way too much of a factor in how the league ends up going. If you have an early pick and you end up getting Josh Allen, or Lamar, you're going to end up rolling in that league, and that just it's not super fun to me. But
yeah, Mark, I mean, based on your draft position, I could almost predict what my whole team would be beforehand. And I play in about 10 leagues, so I start changing it up just to change it up. But salary cap, you honestly don't know who you're going to have sometimes based on what's happening. And I just did a dynasty startup where we salary capped, and everyone was like, oh, if we did it again, I would know what to do. And I'm like, no, the whole thing would change over.
Oh, definitely.
Me and Matt share a league together in salary cap. And every year, sometimes we stick to our plans because Matt will go, he's like the Titanic band. If you tell him to do something, he's going to go down with the ship, where I'm like, I always say, Matt, we're not changing our plan. And about the 10 seconds into, I'm like, Matt, we have to change our plan. It's off.
Yeah, a year or two ago, it was Christian McCaffrey no matter what. So, and somebody else in the league knew it. And it was in a $200 auction starting budget. We spent like 101 on Christian McCaffrey. So half our budget was on one guy because we went in and we're like, we want CMC no matter what. So, but that was, yeah, good stuff.
yeah, I mean,
I think it was Maxwell.
It was, and he bid it up to 98 because he knew that we would go all the way in.
My own personal experience is that exact same thing. Like depending on how everything else shakes out, like plus or minus maybe one or two people for my team that I am like completely set on getting, and I could pick them for any number of reasons, but every single time I would sit in that auction and do a re-auction, I would have a totally different lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the way that it breaks, and like literally moment to moment, I'm like, all right, I'm all in on this guy, and then it's like, he's at 85,000. I didn't like him that much. He's gone. And it's just literally like intuition of what you're feeling in the moment, and to somebody else like want to try and bid me up thinking that it's like so every single time I'd have a different roster.
I actually find out when we do the salary cap that people that are very good at poker that aren't even necessarily good at redraft end up doing better because they're just much more used to that type of scenario.
Yeah, I would agree. I think being able to hold your cards tight and like if you can feel when somebody's getting ready to have enough, and you can push them right up to that moment, knowing that you like not getting stuck with people. That's a super pivotal skill in an auction setting. Super pivotal.
Yeah, I would imagine actually you're a better player. I mean, it's tough. I have a very Marty McFly dynasty approach, so I'm usually always trying to go as high as I can, right? Mark, sometimes
he doesn't want to be chicken. He doesn't want to be called yellow.
Nobody calls me chicken, so it's hard because I'm easy to read. Matt, that's why I joined Matt.
Yeah, it's the one of the best years we had is Reg had set it up, and he's like, you know what? We're gonna set up like we're having dinner, right? We want to have meat, our protein. We want to have potatoes. We want to have a veggie. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? And he's like, no, he's like, the meat is like the center of the plate. It's our wide receiver one, our running back one. Then we want to maybe have a side of peas, then maybe a side of mashed potatoes, and then we'll decide what gravy we want. And then he kind of broke down all the players based on what part of the plate they would be. And I think that was the best year that we had.
Yeah, Mark, they call it like just like that. Two pieces of meat should be 60% of your budget, right? Because you're spending the most on your meat. So we're going to get our two round one players. That's going to be about 65% of our budget. Then we're going to get our high price side, right? We'll get that one other player. That's like 25%. And then the last little bit will be that. And that's just how we can go into the draft. And at least then it gives us kind of we might not be able to predict the players, but at least gives us something to hold on to, right, while the craziness is happening. Because I always say I'd rather be the first one down to low money and then wait a long time and then wait until you almost have the most money left and then go back in.
Yep, because in an auction setting, you're always going to get good scraps at the end too. There's always going to be guys at the end that are good value guys that should have probably gone earlier, but everybody just overlooks them for whatever reason, and there's always more money to go around at the end than what you ever think.
Well, I think in the beginning too, you want to be the first one to spend money because if you spend money first, you set the market, right? If you wait, those other players are going to be just as much as the beginning players, so you might as well attack first as well.
That is very true. The top wide receiver goes for about as much as like the next six, and you don't realize it until you think you're overspending, and then that happens, and you're like, man, we really got this player for the same price as like wide receiver 8.
Oh yeah, because they're like,
and then you're sitting there high on your horse, and you're like, yeah, this is actually the draft's coming to us versus us having to go to the draft. So
yeah, eventually everyone looks at their queue and says, wow, we have no players. We're going to go get some.
Yep. Literally happened to my dad last year. All of a sudden he was like waiting, and his list was pretty slim for the first like 6 pass-throughs, and all like at that point every big namer's been thrown out, and like you don't have a lot of points sitting there left on the table. You can find maybe 1 or 2 sleepers, but like there's just not going to be that many raw points left on the table.
It's too much information nowadays for sleepers to really exist too much.
Yep. Yeah, and I like when I made this suggestion to Ryan a year or two ago that, hey, any extra budget you have from the previous year will roll into the next. So you get these super cheap people that roll and don't spend like their last $25 or $30, and they roll it into the next year, and every year they're finishing between 9 and 12, or 9 and 14, whatever it is, and they're always trying to roll money into the next year, and it never works out for them. It's like
Yeah, not to mention
you
that.
got to go all in, man. You're not guaranteed that anything is going to come your way the next year. So,
Not to
but-
mention they never take advantage of that extra $20.
no, they always try to roll it into the next year, and it's like, what do you guys even? What's your end game here?
Yep.
Yeah, the misers are going to be the misers. That's how that works. All right, so let's pivot here. We'll start with Matt on this one. Top 5. Do we want to do combined rookie running backs and wide receivers, or do we want to do isolated running backs? Maybe
let's
have Matt do top
let's
5.
isolate them.
Yeah, let's have Matt do top 5 running backs, and then Reg, you can do top 5 wide receivers. So let's start with running backs. Matt, what do you got for top 5 running backs?
Let's
for rookies?
go. Yes, Scadaboo's my boy. But actually, I'm gonna go top 5. So I'm gonna have a little bit of shakeup here. So everybody's gonna go Genty. I'm gonna go Amari and Hampton, only from the fact that Najee Harris apparently is missing an eye from having a little bit fireworks accident. If Najee Harris was healthy, I wouldn't have gone this way. But I believe that the Chargers and the coaching staff are high T, so I believe Omari and Hampton is going to be an absolute stud and a steal where he's going. So I'm going to go him running back 1 for rookies. I'm going to go Genty 2, just based on opportunities and touches, what he's going to have in Las Vegas. And then I'm going to go with my boy Scadaboo, number 3. I think he is going to overtake running back 1 on that team sooner rather than later. It does suck that he had a little bit of a hamstring issue, but he is my number 1 running back heading into the draft class. I told Reg, I don't know, last year or whatever, I said Scadaboo's my boy. And him and Schwa are kind of coming on board, which scares me a little bit. So Scadaboo's got to be number 3 for me.
You mean Toby Gerhart?
Number 4 is Caleb Johnson. Love Caleb Johnson. Love the opportunity. Love Pittsburgh. Their coaching staff loves to run the ball. Aaron Rodgers is going to need a solid running game to get going. They're going to just pound the ball, and they really don't have – I mean, they signed Kenneth Gainwell. He was an Eagle. Woohoo. Nothing to write home about. He always let Reggie and I down. Never was a Gainwell guy. They have Jalen Warren, who was a Matt guy, late round pick, solid guy, solid out of the backfield. I just believe Caleb Johnson is going to be the workhorse and take over for where Najee was for the last couple years. And then number 5, I'm going to go Travion Henderson with New England. I think pairing him with Drake is going to give them a good combo here for the next few years. I know Ramondre Stevenson's there. I believe Travion Henderson is a more complete rounded back than Stevenson. We were all high on Stevenson there for a while. Still kind of high on Stevenson, but I think Travion Henderson coming in from, Mark, the Ohio State, is going to come in, and I think he's just going to light it up in that offense. So I'm going to go Hampton, Genty, Scadaboo, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson are my top 5 rookie running backs going into this year.
What are a name to watch that I keep hearing thrown around? This is a deep cut. I think Reggie's gonna like this one and be surprised that I pulled this name. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt,
The Commanders running back?
Commanders rookie running back. I'm seeing talk. I'm seeing talk.
I think you just got Reggie worked up on that one.
I'm seeing a lot of chatter.
Sweating.
That's the same effect as Sidney Crawford. I hear that name. I'm like, it's time, baby.
Man, Big Red throwing out a good curveball for Reg right there.
Deep cut. Do we have any thoughts on JCM?
99% of the chance he will not do anything. However, you got to love what you're seeing in the offseason, right? I mean, Brian Robinson, Eckler, they're probably good enough to block him in, but you're at least going to take a shot on a 7th rounder that fell because of health, right? Because if he can get healthy, he at least has the ability out, as opposed to not having the ability at all. So there is a 1% chance that if things go in, it'll be great.
Yeah, I think he's injuries away from like actually seeing the field. But if, like you said, if if Eckler gets banged up, if Brian, why am I blanking on his last name?
Robinson?
Yep.
Junior.
Ronnie Brown?
If they get banged up ahead of him, like all of a sudden he's going to get tossed right into the fire. And based on what I'm seeing, and all I've seen is a little tiny 3-second clips, but this dude like looks like he can tote the rock. So,
Mark, fun fact. Matt didn't want to use the last draft pick in his dynasty draft, traded to me, and that's who I took, my friend.
JCM looks like could be a long-term value pick in the dynasty setting, especially. This guy has upside, and he's got there's some weird story about I haven't looked super far into it, but like he transferred and ended up like injured and stuff like that, and like didn't play the last year and a half or something in college. Yep. So, that to me, like if you take a deep breath in, that smells like fresh tread on the tires to me. Like that smells like pure Goodyear. Like you're just going into the tire shop and like you're walking outside of Costco and you get that whiff of the tire shop and you're like, oh man, that's fresh rubber right there, baby. I need a fresh tire change right there, and JCM's got what's good.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. But two other quick thoughts on the running backs. Most overrated, I'm gonna go RJ Harvey. I think he's the most overrated. I'm a big J.K. Dobbins. I think Dobbins is going to, and I'll give Reggie credit in our mocks. He's been taking J.K. Dobbins when I've been waiting another round or two, so I give him credit there. And then another running back, to your point, Big Red is a sleeper, is Brashard Smith for the Chiefs. I really like Brashard Smith coming up. I don't really think they have a bell cow. I think Pacheco's days are numbered. And I'm a big Kareem Hunt guy, but I think his best days are behind him. Brashard Smith is another one for me. So that's what I got for the running backs.
The Chiefs are very much I feel like they've always, especially under the Andy Reid school of offense, it's very much hey, we're going to ride the hot hand. I think they're a hot hand running back offense, and
or Kareem Hunt. I mean,
Kareem Hunt.
They're like, look, you pass block, you run for 3 yards a carry, you don't fumble. They're gonna go with him. I know it.
Yeah, he doesn't put the ball on the turf, and he can punch it in the goal line too. That's the other thing. He's gonna get all the goal line touches.
Hey, 3 yards every carry is 12 yards. That's a first down every 4 carries.
Yeah, tush push. Just get. Look.
All right, Reg. Top 5 rookie receivers.
Ooh, this is what I've been waiting for.
I mean, number 1, I'm still going to say Tet. I just am. I think his run after the catch is so special for a guy that's 6'4", 6'5". I am. I'm on the Tet train. But honestly, number 2, and he's really close to number 1, is Emeka Ukabeka. Like, Evans is close to being done. Godwin's got his foot injury. I could see Emeka being this year's like rookie of the year at receiver, right? Catching 80, 90 catches, 1,207. I'm not at all in on Travis Hunter. I just am not for a fantasy player. He's going to have to do way too many things. So I actually don't know if I'd even have him in my top 5. I'm going to put Matthew Golden at 3. You guys can hear me good, right? Okay. Packers, they don't spend a first-round pick that often. You've got a pretty open receiving core. I think the fact that you heard me say Matthew Golden at 3 tells you that this wide receiving room is not a great class. I would probably only really target Ubeka in drafts. Maybe Tet if he goes to 5th. But if you get past those 3 and you really want to just take shots later on, because that's about all I think you have, Jaden Higgins at 4. I think he's a good shot to get to like 800 yards, maybe 850, like 6 touchdowns. But you got Christian Kirk there that's going to kind of nuke him a little bit. And if you made me go to a 5th receiver, I'm going to go a little bit deep. I'm going to say Pat Bryant for the Broncos. Right? You got
That's a
Sutton.
way deep cut.
It is deep. A way deep cut.
I don't like Trey Harris at all. I think that's a bust.
Ooh, that's where we differ. We differ on a lot of these, man.
Yeah, I do a lot of receiver charting, actually, for even player profile. I look at Trey Harris, I see Laquan Treadwell. I'm like, you're just a 6'2" generic guy running 4.53 routes. You're like an X receiver that catches contested passes. You're a dime a dozen. And I know it's what Pat Bryant kind of is too, but I just have a little more faith that the Broncos don't have as many pass catchers, so it's a little bit more open. So if you were asking me for Dynasty, what's a receiver to get, I'd say Kyle Williams if we're going to go deep for the Patriots. I love that guy, but I don't think he's ready at all. So I would really only endorse Ubeka and Tet this year if I'm drafting a rookie receiver.
Why Tet though? I mean, he's playing for Carolina.
We talk about volume. They just drafted him top 10. Who else are they going to throw the ball to? He's going to get 130 targets. Maybe it's only 70 catches for 1,000 yards. But Mark, there's not too many 6'4" guys that can run after the catch. That's a very unique skill set. So I know Matt, as soon as he hears Panthers, he just, he starts, the wallet closes up and then he just kind of strides away. But I actually think Bryce Young's somewhere around mediocre.
Yeah, I think he made significant strides last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't know. It's interesting looking at their last couple of years because they've had so much turnover in the last 3 or 4 years. And like you said, they got to throw the ball to somebody. Somebody's got to get their hands on the rock.
Canales is there. Bryce Young started improving. Chuba ran the ball decent. You had Jalen Coker starting to improve. Jatavian Sanders had some gains. I actually don't think it's a bad offense.
Don't forget about the guy that eats raccoons.
Leggett?
Yeah, Xavier.
I love Leggett, but that's probably a done deal.
And down here, all the buzz in Carolina is that he is having a monster camp.
I hope he does. What is it, Little Bill? Or what is his his pony?
Yep. Yeah, so my top my five real quick would be Egbuka, obviously. I agree with you there. He'd be my number one. Travis Hunter. I know you're not a huge fan. I'm not usually a huge fan, but man, the talent is undeniable. Matthew Golden. I am a Trey Harris guy. I put him at 4, and then I put Burden at 5. But you're right. Wide receiver, after you get past the top 2 or 3, you're just rolling dice at that point. I do
not
agree
the class
with you
to do it.
No. Nope. It was actually a stronger running back class than I thought it was going to be.
There are a lot of dudes on this wide receiver list, and I'm not into the draft like you guys are. I don't follow it nearly as closely until fantasy season starts rolling around, and then all of a sudden, come week 5, I'm skimming the waiver wire, looking at names I've never seen before, and trying to figure out how I'm going to pronounce them.
You know what, Mark, though? That sometimes is a positive. It's sad to say. I actually do better in fantasy basketball, and I don't know anybody. But I treat it as a game of math, right? When you actually know a lot of players, sometimes it's a negative. Because you're like, oh, man, I watched this guy named Cam Scattaboo in college. Now he's my guy. So all of a sudden you get to draft day, and you're like, all right, I want him in round 11. Well, I don't know. Schwab might snipe me, so maybe I'll go to round 9. Then all of a sudden, Matt might just draft Cam Scattaboo in round 5. Yeah. And all of a sudden... 7. All of a sudden, your knowledge you forget it's a mathematical game before it's a football game. Right. And when I do basketball, I don't have any sleepers. I just look straight numbers.
Yeah, you're talking like just running out the points and seeing who's going to get the most points and how do I go about getting those guys? How do I maximize each draft slot? Yeah, I think that's a fair way to go about it too. Because as soon as you start letting bias get into your decisions about who you do and don't like, that's when all of a sudden things come off the rails and you start overvaluing guys or undervaluing guys. That guy should be taken at that spot because he's the best available and he's the best one to help you win. So trying to eliminate that.
I mean, Mark, you're out there, you're 6 drinks in, all of a sudden you're like, you know what, man? I actually like Cam Scattaboo round 1.
That might happen. That might happen next Sunday on the boat. I may be like, you know what? Yeah. I'm not letting Reggie or Schwag get the benefit of the doubt on me. Scattaboo round 1, and that may even be on my sticky note from the draft day movie. Scattaboo, no matter what.
Best over drinking draft story.
We should have added that into this. Reggie, you got to tell your story about Jordan Reed.
Oh, yeah, Mark. So I
just
trade
real
up
quick
for this.
Off the cuff, because this is actually pretty hilarious.
I trade up for this pick. I'm like, man, I want Jordan Reed, man. This is my dude. Or no, it was Cooper Kupp. I want Cooper Kupp. So I'm like, Dennis, man, I want to trade up 5 spots. He's like, what do you got for me? I said, do you like Fab? It's like, not really. I said, what about all my Fab? He's like, okay. So I get up there. I'm like, where's Cooper Cup at? I can't find his sticker anywhere. I'm pissed. I'm like, Mike, Matt, where's Cooper Cup? He's like, oh, you drafted him a couple rounds ago.
He did. He drafted him like 4 rounds earlier.
So I was like, Jordan Reed.
And the funny thing is that he drafted Jordan Reed like the last 4 drafts before that. He traded all of this because he wanted Cooper Cup. And the pre-story to that is we were at somebody's that we knew that ended up joining one of Reggie's leagues, and he was just feeding Reggie Crown Royal or something like that. So Reggie was super incoherent by like round 7.
I was like, who bought the cheap sticker things, man? Doesn't even have Cooper Cup.
When you said Dennis, is that Dennis Jager?
No, Dennis Rucka.
Yeah, he's no longer in the league. He left, but man, that was a amazing draft. Is when Reggie's like, can I move up for 50 Fab? And he's like, no, because you get 100 Fab. And he's like, what about all of it? And he's like, before then though, he was like 50 Fab. He's like, I don't really care that much about Fab. And then Reggie's like, what about all of it? He's like, deal. And then he's like, I want Cooper Cup. And Streeter goes, Reg, you drafted him in round 4. He's like, okay, I actually meant Jordan Reed.
Gotta pivot.
It's super hilarious now, but if you were there, you would have had to change your drawers after that one.
Man, that's like in the league when Andre drafts Keyshawn Johnson, and Keyshawn's been retired for like 5 years. Keyshawn Johnson, put it on the board.
Oh, great show. Great show.
Phenomenal show. My wife even likes that one. That's how funny that is, and she doesn't give 2 craps about football or fantasy football or anything else. It still gets good hard laughs out of her. Let's pivot here. Any truth to the 3rd-year breakout philosophy? We'll start with Matt on this one. Any truth?
I don't know. I believe there is. So I have a few guys on my board this year that I'm going to hope that philosophy is true. Yeah. I know Schwa's going to listen to this because he's going to try to get insights from both of us. So I'm not going to show my cards.
Quentin Johnson?
Yeah, Quentin Johnson. I don't know. They're heading into the 3rd year. Obviously, they're probably have gone through the rookie season. They may have gone through their sophomore slump. I think CJ Stroud's up there too for me. Potentially in that super flex league where he had a really good rookie season, had a sophomore slump, set up for a bounce back. So I do believe that more often than not, that 3rd-year breakout is more true than it's not. What do you think, Reg?
I mean, if we're talking about quarterbacks and tight ends, I believe it. If we're talking about wide receivers, I think you can go to good, but I think if you're special, it's already happened. Like I don't believe that that's a thing for special players at wide receiver anymore. I think you can go from being mediocre to good, right? I mean, you still see that. You see JSNs and stuff come out and, they're decent and they turn to good. But I think now we're seeing guys like Neighbors and others where they're like, no, you're special right away. I think pro football has changed to college football in their offensive settings. So these guys are just hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it seems like guys can get right into the mix. Either you have the ability to run routes and create separation, or you don't, and you've established that through at least 3 years in college. Either you have the physicality to be able to separate, or you have the pure raw athleticism, the skill set, whatever that may be. That's something that it seems like either you have it when you come into the league or you don't. And I think the only pivot point for receivers specifically would be your system and your quarterback. Like, do you have somebody that can actually get you the ball, and do you play in a system where they actually care about getting you the ball? And if both of those are no, then you may see, I think that's where like you see guys break out in year 3 because all of a sudden the stars align for their quarterback and their system if they either change teams or coach changes or whatever, get a different quarterback in. But I think that's more along the lines of when you start seeing those third-year breakouts for receivers. Running backs, I think. I don't know. Thoughts on running backs? I feel like sometimes you might see a third-year running back spike, but I feel like that's almost like a high point for them. Like the third-year running back might be their actual like peak of their career because running back careers are so short. Thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
I would agree with you. I would say back in the day, running backs were brought along a little bit slower too. I would think nowadays, I feel like you draft a top first round running back, they're expected to step in and be that semi bell cow from the beginning. So it's gonna be interesting to see because I think what Bijan's going into his third year, Brees Hall's going to his third year. So it's gonna be interesting to kind of recap this at the end of the year and see what some of those predictions are because I know some of those guys are going into their third year. I know Bijan's probably the top running back on everybody's list heading into year 3, and everybody's hoping for that third year breakout. But I would agree with you. Yep, running backs and rookies in general, I think, have always been slow played into the game. Where nowadays, I think, to Reggie's point, it's college and top college football programs are basically the pros. So you're also there. It's a feeding for the NFL. So as soon as they come into the league, they're expected to step in. Where a few years back, I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, running backs, you might see a little improvement because sometimes your rookie year, you get a little tired at the end. You haven't fully conditioned your body. Also, what really hurts rookie running backs? Some of them can't pass block. Honestly, when you're like, why isn't this running back playing more? You'll hear coaches say it every time. We can't trust him on third down. The veteran Latavius Murray comes out and he blocks. We can count on him. So you might see reception totals go up by your third year as a running back. So that you might see a statistical advantage there where receivers don't have any of that problem. Mark, you highlighted it perfectly well. They already know how to get open or they don't.
I got to back up too because Matt threw out a name that I just like. This is a hot button thing for me. Brees Hall. That dude sucks. That dude is trash. I will not touch that guy with a 10-foot pole. That dude does not score points. That dude he is just, you can't count on him. Wouldn't touch him. Had him last year. Had to plug him in all the time because I think he was my number one running back on the board in my regular draft league and had to get somebody, and he was the guy I had to take, and he left me so far up a creek without a paddle, I can't even tell you.
And
He averaged.
before Reg goes off on you, because Reg is a big Brees Hall guy, I would say Brees Hall talent wise, I would disagree with you. Brees Hall in the situation he's in with the Jets, I would agree with you. Go ahead, Reg.
Mark, he averaged over 15 points per game. You were probably max. You drafted him in the first round. But do you want me to tell you honestly what fantasy gold information, the best information I'm ever going to give you, is to be a contrarian, right? When everyone tells you Brees Hall is a top 5 player, bait him. And when everyone tells you Brees Hall's done, then buy him in round 3, man, because every player has a point where they become enticing, right? It's kind of like the lady at the bar, right? They might not look good at first, but you know what? As the night goes on, it starts looking a little better, right? And that's Brees Hall. So Brees Hall round 3, round 4. Yeah, oh yeah. We're dancing.
Yeah, especially this year because with the quarterback situation with Fields, they're going to want to run the ball, I would think, more than they would want to pass it. And they are just going to feed. I think Brees Hall is, to Reggie's point, I think Brees Hall is very undervalued this year. I think, to your point too, Red, I think you probably drafted him when the hype was high last year. This is the year you're going to want to draft him. And if you do, I don't think it's going to let you down based on the value and based on the round that you're going to be getting him in this year.
I disagree again, and here's why. Let's get into this. I think the New York Jets offense is going to give 2024 University of Michigan, we can't move the ball offensively, and we do not play offensive football vibes for all 17 games that they play. They are not going to be able to advance the ball down the field one iota because Justin Fields has 3 left hands and he can't throw it one bit. And they are not going to be able to do anything with the football. everybody's going to know that they're going to want to give Brees 30 touches. And by the time they try to get him touch number 20, they're going to be behind by 28 points. And they're going to have to throw the ball with Fields. And he can't throw the ball and hasn't been able to throw the ball. Even when he was tearing up Michigan, it was because he was just scampering over into the sideline because that's all he can do. It's just a little scamper. But now he's going up against NFL defenses that can actually track him down, and the Jets are going to be absolute trash. I'm glad they paid. I'm glad they paid whoever that wide receiver is from Ohio State too, because he can't play either. Give me the pass on the Ohio State guy.
Just throw out Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
Pass on the Ohio State guys. Pass on them all.
Oh man.
Look, it's a hyper consolidated offense into two people. So even if it's not a good offense, it's still hyper consolidated into two people. Now, they don't have touchdown upside. I'll give you that, right? Garrett Wilson's probably going to get 5 to 7 touchdowns. Brees Hall's probably going to get 5 to 7 touchdowns, but the touches are there. So look, when you draft Brees Hall to be the center point of your team, he let you down. But now he's just being drafted as a part of your team, and he's going to absolutely be able to do that. And Mark, this is where it gets people in trouble. He burned me once. Now he's off my board. And then all of a sudden, I'm drafting him in round 4 or 5, and I'm like, thank God Mark was angry because I just got a gift, right? And then next year, you're going to be like, oh, I'll draft him in round 1 because he did well, and he's just going to burn you again. So be a contrarian, man. That is the advice.
Yeah, I would say like every fantasy player is probably going. It's all stacked up against whatever your expectations are, and right, wrong, or otherwise, like the predictions for weekly fantasy points is what sets everybody's expectations, even though those aren't. I don't know what the statistics for those, where those come
Yahoo
from.
projected points.
Yeah, like for sleeper or whatever, but every single week, like I said, Brees last year for me was the number 1 running back I had to take because he was the best available at the time when I picked my first running back. So he had the expectations of being a number 1 running back for me in a 10-team league, which he wasn't. Like, in maybe, I guess, fringe. Like, he was probably like somewhere between 8 to 12-ish.
Yeah.
But every week you see the projections of 18, like on a high week early on in the season, he had projections of like 20 and like just didn't ever get there. I don't think he ever had a game last year where he really broke out either. That was the other thing. Like, I've had weeks where Jonathan Taylor's literally won me the game on his back. Like, I had him for what did he have? Like some 90-yard touchdown run to seal a game for the Colts a year or two ago. I had him for that, and all of a sudden I'm winning the game. So he didn't have any of those either. And like you said, Reg, he's probably a pretty static, like 12 to 16 and a half, 17 points a week, somewhere in there. And like that just isn't, it's not super sexy, especially for your first running back off the board.
It's not, but like I said, at the end of the day, averaged like 15.3 points per game. It killed you for where you drafted him, but he didn't kill he killed you where you drafted him.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say too, and I just thought of this, and maybe it's the tequila, but
Cam Scadaboo's awesome.
Well, we already knew that. I didn't need a lime in my drink to know that. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has ever had really a stud top fantasy running back.
Oh,
Aaron Jones had some years.
Aaron Jones, and who's before that? It was, oh God, what was his name?
Eddie Lacy?
Ahmad Green or Ahmad?
Yeah. I think but I don't know if they've ever been like super standout. I would say they're probably on par with where Brees Hall was. I just don't think they really use the running back a lot because Rodgers wanted to throw the ball, and I don't think he really focused on the running back when he threw the ball. So in PPR, you also have to. That's actually good. I'm going to make that note heading into this year.
Well, why throw it to the running back when you can bring Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb everywhere you go, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And what's Devontae Adams? Can't forget Devontae. He brings him everywhere too.
This year, he's actually my guy this year.
Where does he play now?
No.
At the Rams?
Oh no! You better draft him 2 rounds earlier. Schwa's listening to this,
Yeah, can we publish this next Monday?
Or edit that part out.
He
just swap Cooper Kupp for Devontae Adams.
Just wanted this one on the record. Devontae's catching passes from Rams Hall of Fame quarterback Matthew Stafford. Is that correct?
That's right. Every podcast I'm on, I want some Matt Stafford reference.
He's
I
going in
wish
as
I
a
had
Ram, right?
Stafford's jersey under this and I could just rip this thing off.
He's going in as a Ram, right?
No, he's not going in as a Ram. He's
You're
going in as
you're owed to Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace. Where you just rip the jersey
R.I.P.
off and then you hit Stafford underneath.
Oh, dude.
R.I.P.
Hulk Hogan. Not Hulk Hogan.
All right, we're getting along in the tooth here for this one, so we'll finish here. Favorite league type and why? Reg, we'll start with you.
Yes.
I mean, it's Dynasty for me because I can do it all year round now. So you took a person with severe, like, obsession with fantasy, and you're like, hey, would you like to not actually have an off season? I'm like, okay, this is great because now I actually get to anger 11 people first 12 months sending trade offers like every day. I'm sure Matt could tell you that. But I like it honestly because you draft players you never would. You feel like a GM. And honestly, good people are good at Dynasty because there's no reset button. So I always say, like in redraft, I might just have a crap year because of luck. But in Dynasty, I'll take me year over year over most people. So I feel like I get the most control over being good. If you were saying you didn't want to do Dynasty, I would say a Guillotine League's my favorite, then second. And I don't know if you know what a Guillotine League is, Mark. But
I
essentially,
was just researching that. I've never been in one, but I was just researching that before we jumped on because I saw that was one of Matt's additional ones if we had more time.
yeah, I don't have
be
to get
very
into
intrigued to be
particulars,
in one.
but the best thing about a Guillotine League is if I lost my first round pick week 1 for the year and I didn't get last place and I'm still in it, I could legitimately replace him and keep playing. Or a redraft league, like you lose a couple players, you're like, look, I'll try to like soldier through this, but you're done, right? You're done. And a Guillotine League, you're always in it. Because the waiver wire has starters.
Matt, what do you got? What's your favorite? What's your go-to?
Dynasty is nice, but Dynasty wears on you. It wears on a lot of people. Unless you're Schwa or Reggie or maybe me, you get exhausted from the year-round trades and the year-round draft and the year-round being able to move year-round. I enjoy the Keeper League, and I enjoy the way we all came together, especially for Reg's main league, on keeper value. On you get to keep them in the wherever they were drafted the year before, and if it was a free agent and you got lucky, they're 8th round, they're middle. Like you don't get them at the very end, you don't have to take them at the top, you get them in the middle. So that league, and I know Reg is always looking for ways to change and adapt things. So this year we kind of moved it to a super flex. So no QBs are able to be kept, but we're now moving into a super flex. So I enjoy that format with the way we've been running it as a league, and with the way Reggie's been kind of running it is always be adapting, right? Adding something new every few years. It's not every year we make a change. Maybe every 3, maybe every 5, but you don't want it to get stale. So whatever it is to maybe it's 2 points per reception. Maybe you go down. Maybe you go up. Maybe you add a super flex. But whatever it is, just make sure to continue to keep it fresh. Because if you do the same thing year over year over year, it's fine. But it's eventually going to get stale. And it's always nice to keep things fresh. And it's also always nice to, like we're doing next Sunday, is get together as a group. And I think we're 10 out of 12 are able to make it this year. And we're going up to Reggie's dad's place on the lake and be able to get together and just have some fellowship as guys and be able to talk trash to each other live and give each other crap live. And it's just, it's an amazing time, and it's well worth me obviously traveling back. And I wouldn't miss that ever, especially with the weekend we're going to have right at your family's place like we have. Just a really good weekend. So I would say that's probably my favorite format, and just keep it fresh.
Yeah, live draft's always going to be the the highlight of your league, right? If you have a good draft, I mean, it's just I almost I almost started out just keep doing it for the live draft, and now I'm addicted. But we have it. We're last place. They have to host it, and it's good to have some spontaneity. But it's nice that Matt comes into town, and it's a lot of fun. You have some boomers there, like my dad, who has fans going, and he can't see because it's too dark. And
He always
you
needs
know,
electrical run to wherever he's at. One for his laptop and one for his 2 fans. And then
you know,
Lenny bring in his Stella Artois beer. So it's always never a dull moment with those guys. As soon as
So
it's funny because everybody kind of trickles in, right? Like it normally starts out with Reggie, Schwa, and I. And then Lenny and Rob will trickle in. Then Brady will trickle in. Then Maxwell will kind of slither in somehow. And then Streeter will show up eventually. And every time somebody shows up, it just re-adds, like, it throws gasoline on the fire, right? It's like, oh, Lenny shows up. I know I'm gonna drive him nuts by offering my first round pick, and then know that he's gonna go to Rob. And it's just always like a live spontaneity as everybody kind of enters the draft. So it's pretty fun.
well, Letty's there because you're like, they still sell Heinekens. Like, I'm like, oh, this is
I still love the year he brought Stella Artois. I was like, "Do you have your gold tipped glass and you're gonna take the foam off with a knife?"
yeah. I'm like, what are
Oh
you, a
man.
long inventory consumer? Like, it's nice that you do this.
uh, the live draft or live auction is just make or break for me. Like my
Do
other
you
one,
do a live auction?
yeah, we do it all in
Oh,
person.
that would be
Yeah.
Everybody's
sweet.
there bidding, everybody's all in the same
Oh
room. It
no! Now
gets
you
like
just gave Reg ideas. I wasn't gonna tell him that you actually did it in person.
Oh,
you get sweaty under the pits. Like
I bet.
it's tense.
And then you
And
have an auctioneer too, right?
yeah, so yes and no. This year, my dad's bowing out of the league because my dad's the worst loser ever. He's the sorest loser. Came in last year, so
I'm out.
he's just quitting on the league, and he's like, I'll show up and I'll run the auction for you guys, but I don't want anything to do with being in the league anymore because it's just not fun because I lose. I was like, everybody loses, so.
But
But
if it had to be
he's run.
somebody, your dad would be the best auctioneer though, with his like radio voice and everything. Like he's gonna kill it this year being the auctioneer.
Yeah, but normally what we do is like we just rotate around. So like somebody will start as the auctioneer, and like sometimes they're like interested in bidding. So like if they're bidding themselves, then they'll just be as honest as they can about it. I mean, we don't really have any like snafus with the auction or whatever. It's pretty straightforward.
Or
But
you don't raise your own hand and be like, oh, nobody wants anything. 1, 2, 3. Sold.
like once you get down to the end of it, depending on who's running the auction, you might have guys throw out like, okay, hey, throw on like, and we rotate who throw like you go through instead of draft picks, you throw names out. So like it shuffles through that way. So like um I don't know. It's on the up and up. Like nobody's trying to cheat or pull a fast one or anything like that. And there's too many people in the room to see stuff like that. So, but it gets the the first handful of guys, and depending on what the appetite is for overspending, like we play $1 million league, so once you get up to 400,000, like on some of these running backs and things like that, like people get wildly tense.
That would be sweet to see in person. That's a bucket list thing.
It's
As
a
sad
ton of
as my
fun.
bucket
That's the
list
one that I
is.
care about the most, and
Sad as my bucket list
it's
is.
we have a blast with it. And this is my so the actual origins of the league. The league goes back like 30 plus years. My dad was an original in the league and has come and gone now a couple times. And there's I think 4 or 5 guys that have been maybe only 3 or 4 that have been in there the entirety of the league. And they go back to literally doing the commissioner would get the paper the next
Yep.
day on Mondays,
Yep.
add them up, type them out on his computer in a Word doc, and then he would drive around to everybody's mailboxes the next day and slip them in the mail way back in the day. So that's how they used to play fantasy football, was chicken scratch.
Yep. It was
And
awesome.
now they've obviously pivoted and everything's all modern and everything else. But so when I was offered a chance to be, even though my dad wasn't in it, because I know a couple other of the guys that are in it, and they offered me a chance to be in it, I was like, this is way too cool. I got to do it. Like, because I used to tag along with my dad when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years
Yep.
old, go to the auction or whatever, and just hang out with some of my buddies. Because the guys that my dad was with, they would have kids my age too, so we would all just hang out, play football in the backyard or whatever while the auction was going on, and have a blast with it. So, to have it come full circle has been super cool. So if you can, Reg, if you can get guys to do it in person, 10 out of 10, do it, because the auction is just so much fun.
That would have to be a requirement, right? Like you're in, but when we set a date, like we'll throw dates out there, but once we set a date, like it has to be in person.
Yep.
As you get older, it is so hard to get everyone in. I'm like, it is honestly that's why I made last place. I had to decide it, because I'm like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know how many kids play lacrosse for like Streeter's household, but it's a full-time job, and you got, it's just, there's 2 or 3 guys the last week. They're like, hey man, they didn't ask the wife earlier. They're like, I remember Maxwell once was like, his wife came up to me. She's like, why are you setting the date so late? I was like, oh, hell no. I'm like, dude, I don't have a wife. So I showed emails from February.
Yes, he did. He showed emails that he actually. So we do, like, end of January, February, we set the date for August. And I try to be like, that's why I asked you, Big Red, when are we going to do guys weekend? So that I know in August, like a rough time, so that I can get with this league to say, hey, the first week or the second week in August are going to work. I'll be in town. Can we do it then? And it's still hard to get people to commit at that point, like 7 months in advance.
See, I don't know. Like our auction league must be somewhat unique then, because like we just got the date set on the books a week ago, and we're doing it August 28th. Like we do it like sometime during the week. We don't do it on the weekends because generally people are busier on the weekends, and we can crank it out. Start at like 5:30 after work. Everybody shows up. Crank it out in 2.5 hours, something like that. Maybe a little bit longer than that.
But Mark, I have the most probably competitive league, but they can't even put their keepers in a deadline. I give them 5 months of just saying like, hey, can you click 2 people? It hasn't happened once. And sure enough, this year, old Matt beat him, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, didn't set his keepers. Even Rob McColgan, who doesn't know how to log on to Yahoo.
I'll go down with that one.
Figured it out.
Yeah, it was lagging out on him.
It was. And I'll show you when I get there. I have to I cannot click keepers.
This is like crazy. My dad, when my dad's like, what's his password? What's my password?
Mr. McColgan can't get. He's logged out. He can't get in.
It just is. I'm like, dude, what defeated you? The login. Like the draft's just gonna be harder.
You got to set it up for him where he can touch it like it's biometric, so it's a fingerprint. You got to set it up so it's
Face ID.
Exactly.
I said,
I wake up this morning, Big Red, roll over, and I check my phone probably at 6 a.m. or something. And Reggie and Schwa are going off about 4 people that didn't set their keepers. And I resisted because I was going to go off, and I just muted my phone and I went back to sleep. But they're going off on about 4 people didn't set their keepers. Here we go again. And they were going off on a tangent. And I'm like, man, you guys need to go back to bed.
We're not. It's an intense league.
The keeper league. Got to go back to bed. Matt's not getting up until like 8:15.
No, I muted that thing and I went back to bed.
He rolled back over.
Yep.
Well, Mark,
we'll park the fantasy talk there for now. Maybe we do a mid-season refresher here. If not, we'll definitely do a post-season recap to see where everybody shakes out here in their individual leagues. Reggie's in 10+. Matt, how many are you in?
I'm down to 5 right now. Well, 6 because I'm in 2 Dynasty. So I always forget Dynasties.
Oh, we're counting Dynasty?
2. Yeah. Oh, no.
13.
13 total, Reg?
That we know of. No, he's saying 13 additional Dynasty leagues.
Holy
Rehab
moly.
time.
Yep.
Holy moly.
Yep. Hey, well, I appreciate it, fellas. As always, 15 episodes. Reg, appreciate you joining us. I know it's 4 hours past your bedtime at 10 o'clock, so appreciate you being on. And as always, 15 episodes in, still have not spilled the mixie. And appreciate everybody listening. I know football and fantasy football, sports is not everybody's cup of tea, but just appreciate you listening, sharing, and Have a great week, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.